Step 7. Stitch in a 3/8 inch seam, stretching the band to fit. Stitch again 1/4 inch away from first stitching within the seam allowance. Press seam toward garment, pressing band out. Begin by removing your accessory tray to allow for ease of sewing. Because of the multitude of layers and not having a top edge, you can begin on stitch length stretch when sewing the neckband. Sew at 3/8 of an inch, stretching the band and opening as you go. Stop to remove pins as you are sewing, being sure to reset your stretch before beginning again. As you reach the end, be sure to sew directly over your previous stitches to secure the seam. After sewing the neckband at 3/8 of an inch, repeat the process again, this time sewing at 1/4 inch seam allowance. Finish the raw edge of the neckband with the serger. Be sure that just the raw edge is being trimmed as you sew. Keep the overlocking even by sewing slowly and resetting the positioning of the fabric often. Open out neckband, turning seam allowance to the inside. Press along the neckband to set the neckband out and the seam allowance in against the shirt. Please note, if you stay stitched pieces 1 and 3 at 1/4 inch per my directions, you won't be able to see the stay stitching as you do here, where it was sewn at 1/2 inch per the pattern's main sewing instructions. Step 8. On outside, straight stitch garment close to neck seam. Begin at shoulder seam to hide a slight back stitch. Your stitch length should be set to 3 for top stitching, and you should stretch slightly as you sew. Top stitch roughly 1/8 of an inch from the neckband seam on the shirt. Top stitching will secure the neckband seam to the shirt to prevent it from turning out while wearing. Check the seam allowance often to ensure it is being secured by the stitches. Please note, if you stay stitched pieces 1 and 3 at 1/4 inch per my directions, you won't be able to see the stay stitching as you do here, where it was sewn at 1/2 inch per the pattern's main sewing instructions. Also, in this video, you will note that the machine is set to a stretch stitch. Upon finishing, I preferred the look of stitch length 3 to stitch length stretch. When top stitching with length 3, you must stretch slightly as you sew.